What's going on, dudes and dudettes? So yes, if you did not see me going live last night actually, during the draft, you weren't able to see that, yes, the Chargers did make their selection in the first round. The pick was in, and at number 21, they selected the TCU wide receiver Quentin Johnston, who's really good. He's 6'3", almost 200 pounds, but he is kind of like a mix of Mike Williams, a little bit smaller Mike Williams, but still pretty good route runner. Maybe needs to work on that a little bit more, but a lot of times when he just ran like straight across and they threw him the ball, most people couldn't even tackle him, and then he just shot up down the field as well. So he was very exciting. I know I did a lot of mock drafts right before the draft yesterday, and that one was actually, that video or that short, whatever they call it here, was actually the most highly viewed one a couple days ago. It's like over 300 views. So I don't know, maybe Chargers fans put it into the ether out there that it was going to come to fruition, but I don't know. I know I was going to do like a thing right before that saying my perfect draft for the LA Chargers, and Michael Mayer would be the first round pick, and even crazily, he wasn't even selected in the first round, which was very surprising to me. But I will get into that perfect draft a little bit later in this video. But yeah, very fun, very exciting to have a new guy, especially another weapon for our top quarterback, Justin Herbert, and see what he can do, because I know both Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, they both have like almost 20 plus to 30 plus $1 million contracts next year. One of them, or if not both of them, don't get extended, then that money's going to really eat up into your salary cap. So, or maybe they're just going to let one of them go and try to figure it out that way, which would suck. But yeah, overall, this is a nice piece for the future, and he's definitely looking like he's ready to go. All the Chargers, the head coach, and Tom Telesco, the GM, said that this definitely seems like one of their guys, and it feels like he's already part of the team even before they drafted him. So it seemed like the interviews went well, and they found their guy, and hoping that this is the correct pick. So we'll see what they do tonight. All right, I know they have at least one pick in each round, the second and third, but who knows what's available. I know there's a lot of good players available. Joey Porter Jr., my other favorite guy other than Michael Mayer to go in the first round for the Chargers, is still available somehow. Michael Mayer is at the top, so maybe the Chargers get a little bit frisky and end up going up to get one of these guys, but I don't know. Maybe they just might drop to them as well as a second round pick. You never know. So we'll find out soon enough in a couple hours. So yes, bolt up and see what happens. And then yes, a little bit more fireworks for some of my teams. The wide receiver Jordan Addison out of USC was selected pretty close right after that, 23-24 to Minnesota Vikings, and it was pretty cool because that's one of my family's teams, so that's pretty awesome. But yeah, it's definitely looks like it's gonna work out for him over there. He'll be definitely the number 2 right away because Adam Thielen is no longer there, and he's definitely a little bit more talented than KJ Osborne, in my opinion. But yeah, to be a number 2 to Justin Jefferson, one of the top wide receivers in the NFL, be really nice thing for him, especially fantasy wise, because everybody would want to stop Jefferson, and he'll have the easier catches and get more, stats and stuff, in my opinion. So definitely very excited about that. I know both of these picks, a lot of people disliked the Quentin Johnston pick for the Chargers fans, and even I saw a lot of Minnesota Vikings fans maybe hoping that they would get a defensive player, but it's just how the draft goes. If their best available player, according to the GM and coach and maybe even the owner, was at the top of their list on their board, then that's who they're going to take. You might take a chance here and there. There were a lot of trades in the draft as well last night, like going backwards a little bit and coming up. I think Houston, definitely got 2 of some of the best players, definitely top 3 or 4 best players in this draft. And yeah, they definitely had to move up quite a bit, but yeah, I was hoping the Chargers would do that because I think they still could have gotten Quentin Johnston, but maybe not, because right after the Chargers selected him, it was like pretty quick. It was like actually right before the Chargers picked, it was Jackson Smith-Njigba to Seattle, then Johnston, then I think Zay Flowers to Baltimore, which is pretty nice, and then also I think Addison was right after that too. So pretty crazy first round of the draft, first night of the draft. Definitely looking forward to the second and third rounds tonight. Hopefully the Chargers make some fireworks in a good way and not, trade up higher and lose your third round pick this year just to trade up for a couple more spots. But we will see. Definitely looking forward to that later. And then, yes, Duke basketball did get a commitment yesterday. A lot of big stuff happened yesterday from a 5-star small forward out of North Carolina in Isaiah Evans. He was pretty sought after. He's like a top 10 player overall, but they were able to snag him, which is pretty good for the 2024 class. Definitely looking forward to seeing him. I know a lot of comps and comparisons have been made because he's from North Carolina. Pretty skinny dude. A lot of people said they reminded him of Brandon Ingram, who was pretty recently on Duke like 5 or 6 years ago. Pretty skinny guy from North Carolina as well, but sort of developed his body, got a little bit thicker and stuff in the NBA with the Pelicans, not with the Lakers. Took him a while, but yes, with the Pelicans, he is still playing really good for them and is a star for them as well. So definitely very excited about this. I think it's the only second 2024 commit other than the other shooting guard, Devin Harris, who's about 6'6" as well. But Coach Shire did say that they weren't going to end up getting a lot of these freshmen or these high school seniors coming in as much anymore because they think they're drafting a number of guys each year and they're going to end up staying at least more than one more year, which is pretty cool. Doesn't mean that they're not talented, and if they don't have a great year, they can go. It's still a possibility, but I just think there's going to be a lot more upperclassmen as well staying, which is always nice. And I think the victory, or the key to victory for a national championship run, in my opinion. But we will see. Definitely looking forward to what happens in the fall for my Duke Blue Devils. And yes, a defensive lineman, Earl Barquette Jr., who actually transferred from TCU, I think it was either last year or the year before that, to USC football, has recently entered the transfer portal once again. So it's the second time. I just think he just kind of figured since Bear Alexander was going to be coming in and is the more talked about player, he wasn't going to get any playing time. He didn't really get any playing time last year as well, because I know the year he transferred he was hurt, but I thought he was going to end up playing and thought I was going to see him last year. Didn't, but I don't know. Good luck to him. See what happens, and hopefully he'll find the right spot for him. And then, yes, speaking of the House of Victories recently signings of these USC athletic players, they actually just recently signed 3 football players the last time I spoke to you. I think the first day they signed the wide receiver Taj Washington, so congrats to him. The next day they signed Marshawn Lloyd, yes, one of the new running back transfers from South Carolina. They signed him, and then they also signed the linebacker Shane Lee, who's been on the team his second year right now as well. So once again, the House of Victory is like the NIL company, nonprofit that's going to help these guys be able to make money on their name while they're in college and stuff. So that's pretty cool. They're getting a lot of the older guys too on the team as well. So they're stepping up, showing what is possible for other players on the team eventually once they get there and get their name out there. So definitely very exciting thing for my USC Trojans. And then On3 did do a really early 2024 look at the top 20 players available for next NFL draft, and of course 2 USC Trojans were in there. Obviously the 2 preseason All-Americans going into this season coming up, Caleb Williams, the quarterback, and the defensive back Kalen Bullock, who's been really good. He was really good his freshman year, kind of had a down year last year, but hoping for an All-American type of year this year, his junior year. But yeah, that was pretty cool to see. Definitely, if they're top 20 prospects, they definitely have a chance to have, USC definitely has a chance to get 2 first-round picks out of those 2 guys. So looking forward to that. I think even 24/7 Sports did a way too early 2024 mock draft, and they had the top 10 out. And of course, like I've been saying, Caleb Williams was the number 1 overall pick out of USC, but he was going to Arizona, which is pretty interesting. So they're saying that they might be trading Kyler Murray at some point throughout the season or next off season, and going with the new young gun and Caleb Williams, who already looks like a better prospect than Kyler Murray, who was the number 1 overall pick when he came out as well, being coached by Lincoln Riley. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Definitely is way too early. Got to get through 2023 first, of course. Got to get through today, one day at a time. So, yes, we'll see what happens. And yes, the College Football Playoff Committee did recently released they released a 12-team playoff bracket format, or whatever they think it would be, how it were to happen. It said 2024, so does that mean that when 2024 happens, the championship games and stuff, all that stuff, when that playoff starts after this season, does it mean it starts then, or does it mean once the 2024 season starts, not the 2024 year? I don't know. I already forgot when they accepted it. I'm pretty sure it will most likely be after the 2024 season, which then would be 2025. I could be wrong, but either way, it is a 12-team playoff format, which is pretty cool because the first round, it looks like at least the top 4 teams will get a bye week pretty much. So then the lower 8 seeds will be playing those games. I think it's like December 20th through the 21st, and all this stuff too does happen around like the last week of the NFL season and during their playoffs. So they're actually playing these games like on Friday, Saturday the first week, and then as they keep going, it's going to be like Thursday and Friday, so they can avoid being played during the NFL playoffs, which is usually on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So that's pretty cool. They're not going to be stepping on each other's toes, which is nice, but get 4 straight days, sometimes 3 straight days of football, which is awesome for me. But yeah, that will happen, and then let me read on to the next week. Yeah, so then December 30th through January 1st, it'll be the Sugar Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, Peach Bowl, and the Rose Bowl hosting that next week. So those top 4 teams that we're waiting for, whoever wins those other games who are played on campus, not at specific bowl game areas, will play each other. And then January 9th through the 10th, the Orange Bowl and Cotton Bowl will host those games, and then eventually they'll get to the national championship game on January 20th, which is about almost 2 weeks later than when it normally would be, which is like the first Monday or second Monday of, it's usually the second Monday, like the 8th, 7th through the 9th, something like that, of the new year. So that's pretty cool, at least going into that. And that's always played on a Monday, which is always weird, but I guess they do it to avoid playoffs in the NFL, but you could do it like another day as well to be a lot more eyes on it. But yeah, they still keep it for Monday, which is interesting. But yeah, I did like this format. It definitely reminds you of like, the March Madness tournament, the playoff bracket, like that. But even Division 2, I think they do this for their playoff stuff to try to figure out who's the national championship, and it worked out so far in that lower level. But these guys in the higher level, because they're getting paid now, they'll want to either get more money because they're playing more games. They might actually end up sitting out those games as well if they think they're already going to get drafted high, or who knows. But we'll see. Definitely looks very interesting. As long as we get more football, that's pretty cool to me, especially college football, because I kind of prefer that over the NFL. I know that's a hot topic, but right now a lot of people don't like the NFL, which is kind of surprising. And then yes, to finish this off, or actually to finish this part of the video off with some miscellaneous news. So I don't know if any of you have seen the movie Alita Battle Angel. It's kind of like set up in a dystopian future where it's kind of like very robotic and definitely futuristic stuff where, people, there is even a doctor in there that helps people who have lost their limbs because they kind of live in a worse part of the world. So they lose their limbs because of betting or other stuff or crime. And then he kind of makes like robotic stuff out of it. But he ends up finding like a scrap body of an ex-military person, I guess, or mind. I forget if it's the mind or the body that was military, but then he kind of makes that AI or that robot who kind of has like a weird looking face. I'm not gonna lie, because that character Alita does have big weird eyes, but it's kind of like a mix of animation and real human, which is pretty interesting. But overall, the movie was pretty good. And I know the main producer on that was John Landau, something Landau. And he recently did Obviously, he did that, but he's also a big producer on the Avatar movies, which James Cameron directs. But James Cameron also produced Alita Battle Angel as well, because he was supposed to direct it in the early 2000s, but decided not to yet, and got his friend Robert Rodriguez to do it, which is maybe why it's not as good as it could be. But nonetheless, apparently that producer has been saying that it looks like that sequel to it is in the works. It didn't make that much money for how much it probably cost, because it was made around $400 million, I believe. I didn't even see it in theaters. I saw it later, like on Redbox or whatever at the time. But I liked it overall. I would go back and see it if there was a sequel, because there is a lot of good stuff in there, like past history stuff that you didn't see in their story, which is pretty cool, because I think it's based off of anime or manga or whatever they call it. So it seems like a good idea, as long as the other people involved in the first part are going to be coming back, and it looks like they did talk to Rodriguez, director, the Salazar, the main actress in there, and I think Christoph Waltz, who was in there as well, says he would be down to do a sequel. So that's pretty cool, in my opinion. Definitely looking forward to that. Maybe in the near future or so, because I think he said they learned that what they can do to make her look a bit more realistic is what they learned on working on Avatar 2. So it might be cheaper to do that now, because they have so much freaking money now because of Avatar, The Way of Water, but we will see. So looking forward to that. Like I said, and then I wanted to read off my supposed perfect draft for the LA Chargers. I mean, technically this still can possibly happen if they trade back and get another pick, so they still have 7 picks, because none of these guys have been selected yet. But in the first round, I wanted them to select Michael Mayer, the tight end from Notre Dame, which they still can. Still think he's a really good player, because he's more of like a mix of offense, can still block for you like a normal tight end, instead of like the Dalton Kincaid who was selected in the first round to Buffalo, where he's just more offensive. But I really like this guy, and that's, like I said, sacrilegious because he's from Notre Dame, but we will see. And then in the second round, I have them selecting Baylor defensive lineman Siaki Ika, and I've known him for the past like 2 or 3 seasons. I've always liked him. I thought he was going to come out last year's draft, but decided to stay and go back, and he's still hovering around the second and third round range. I didn't think I was going to be able to select him in the third round, so I decided to get him here. And he's definitely a big dude, like over 6 foot, definitely over 300 pounds, and yeah, he's a big, like wide type of player. He's probably not going to be super athletic to go chase down people, but if he's just a big body to be in there to stop runs up the middle, which the Chargers always seem to give up last year and the year before that and prior, then I think this guy could definitely help you out. So I think he's a really nice pick for them. In the second round, in the third round, I have them going with a linebacker, Dayon Henley, I believe I'm saying that correct, from Washington State. I remember he actually started his career in Nevada. He's a pretty good guy. He almost transferred to USC, I believe, but ended up going up there to Washington State, and he's a very athletic type of linebacker. He is pretty good in coverage, not great, but he definitely helps you out in the run stopping whenever there's a running play, because a lot of his highlights were chasing down the running back and stopping them around the line of scrimmage or plugging up the hole as well. So I definitely think he is a better version of what Kenneth Murray is, just because I know Murray can't really cover for very long in the NFL, but maybe, the same problems would happen with Henley once he gets there. But because this is the third round, it's better than when they selected Murray in the first round and they had to give up their second and third round picks. We all remember that crap. But yeah, I still like him very much as a player. Then round 4, I have them selecting a cornerback, Riley Moss, who I've been looking at the past couple years as well. And he's just gotten better. He still had a lot of interceptions the past 2 seasons. And I heard they even say that he can most likely play the safety position, which is pretty interesting because he has enough size to do it as well. Maybe he still has to build up the strength, but he's still very smart and ball hawking type of defensive back. So I think to get a versatile guy like this in the 4th round, very important for the LA Chargers, in my opinion. 5th round, I have them selecting wide receiver Charlie Jones out of Purdue, who's really good. He was at Iowa actually, but never got enough playing time. I think he went to a junior college and then he transferred to Purdue to play with his friend Aiden O'Connell, the quarterback, and he had one of the great years. I mean, I only looked at Aiden O'Connell because everybody kept hyping him up, that quarterback at Purdue, as like the next Aaron Rodgers, whatever. He just throws a lot, but when he threw a lot, he definitely threw to this receiver Charlie Jones a lot, and he caught a lot of the passes. I think he averages close to 10 receptions a game, probably 15 plus targets a game in that system, and he caught most of them, averaged close to 100, if not over 100 yards, scored touchdowns as well. He's not like the fastest guy, but if he gets a beat on you, he can beat you. Can maybe high point a ball here and there, even though he's like around 6 foot, but he's definitely one of those guys like an Adam Thielen-esque type of player. It's not as good as like a Julian Edelman because he is taller than him, but I still think this is a very good value pick in the 5th round. So we'll see. And in the 6th round, I have them selecting the Minnesota running back Mohamed Ibrahim. He's a really good player. Like I said, known him for the past 2 or 3 seasons as well up there in Minnesota. And he's definitely known as a bell cow type of guy, so they always fed him the ball, which kind of sucks for his future because he might only last his rookie deal because of how much time he's already been fed the ball and all those hits and stuff on the ground, getting on the ground as well. But I think to be a backup to Austin Eckler, or maybe if Austin Eckler ends up leaving, he could be a really good piece for them in the future, just to hold you off until you find another superstar at some point. But yes, it's a very good value pick, in my opinion, in the 6th round for the LA Chargers. And to finish it off, round 7, I have them selecting, it says a linebacker, but he played sometimes defensive end for Arizona State Sun Devils. And Merlin Robinson, he's a guy I actually know from high school because he was a local product, a SoCal product, Cali kid. And then I think he was on USC's radar. He almost went to USC. It looked like it, but then all of a sudden he decided to go to ASU, which definitely hurt because I had to play against him. And a lot of times some of his better games were against USC, but he's definitely one of the more guys who his engine never stops, so he's always going to try to go after the ball. Definitely better run stopping than he is like going into cover for linebackers, but that's why I said he's more like a defensive end edge type of stand-up linebacker to help you out down there. Very situational, not like you're going to use him every down or 3rd down type of guy. So I definitely think this would be a nice pick. I know when I did it in the mock draft database, they gave me like a grade F because he was so far down the list, but I wanted to go with players that I've liked for a couple years now, and even more than a couple years. And I definitely think this could be a really good pick because they like to pick local products as well, guys who are from California also, because they have a California Pro Day, the Chargers do, and I'm pretty sure he was there as well, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, overall, I think it's a nice draft for them. I would be very happy with this. Very different than what I would normally do with the guys that were available even at that time doing the draft, but the Chargers already picked someone that I didn't have on my top list last night, so we'll see what they do. Hopefully it's not more, questionable players later in the draft that they always end up getting, but hoping for the best with my LA Chargers and hoping little Justin Herbert down there gives us luck. Definitely wearing his shirt as well. So yes, thanks for watching, people. Like and subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know what y'all think. Have a great rest of your day. Bye. Fight on and bolt up.